What is up, everybody? Today, trade cap for July 24th, 2026. And yesterday, I took one trade on NVDA for around a $5,000 day. So, very solid day yesterday. And in this video, I'm going to be going over, right, what the market did today, what I saw on NVIDIA to kind of take this setup, right? I'll be talking about what I saw before the trade, right? Not even just after the trade. And also what the market's been doing, right? Yeah, so let's get into the video. Let's make this pretty quick and concise. So yeah, let me put up the alerts real quick. We'll go over what I was looking at, and then we'll go in depth and kind of see what was actually happening today in the markets, right? We know that these past couple of weeks have been tricky for the market, right? QQ and consolidation. Tech names are down from all-time highs and also in consolidation, right? War news, that's creating a lot of chop, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of just a lot of just a trickier kind of market conditions for us options traders that look for momentum, right? So yeah. So hold up, let me find it. So yesterday, right on Friday, 853, kind of no pre-market game plan, right? But looking for shorts at QQ underneath previously low level, right? So again, what's been happening these past couple of weeks? We have to be patient and kind of see which names are showing relative strength and relative weakness, right? And so we can clearly see, right? Apple is showing relative strength, Tesla is showing relative weakness, right? So in the first 30 minutes, if you were to take a trade, right, you're only going to be taking a trade on either Apple or Tesla, right? Those are only two kind of viable options. For me, on Apple, I kind of missed this entry just because it was near to expiration, and for some reason, right, I just was so hesitant to take Apple because SPY was just choppy, right? SPY was just choppy. I knew Apple also just loves to consolidate after that kind of big initial move, so I missed out on Apple. Tesla is again like this has such a big downside move in the higher time frame, so again, I was also hesitant to take this one as well. Otherwise, regarding my kind of own ideology or my kind of own thinking, these two names were the best names, just looking at levels wise and price action wise. Very simple, right? Yesterday, horrible price action all week, 909. A reversal in the indices is still in play with the main watch likely being NVIDIA, right? So the reason why I can say this is because I know, first of all, how to trade. Second of all, I know also market context. We had a very big drop, and usually when we have a very big drop, right, we like to kind of have that kind of dip and rip coming, like kind of V-shaped recovery into the markets, right? We had good earnings, right? So, it kind of doesn't make sense for the markets to kind of keep dumping. And so, what can we kind of see in the markets right here, right? So, QQ and SPY can at least reclaim VWAP, then we can kind of look for potential plays on longs for tech. We can clearly see QQ is more bearish than SPY because SPY is, our previous low level on SPY is all the way down here at that. I can't even tell that levels, but it's very far down below. While QQ is already below previous low level, so we know QQ is more bearish than SPY, right? So, what's happening when one indice is kind of holding up better than the other indice? That usually creates some form of a chop, right? So if one indice is dropping way stronger like QQ and SPY is kind of looking less bearish and kind of just looking neutral, then that's going to create some chop, right? You want to see both indices dropping down together to kind of get that easy trade on tech names. Or if there's relative weakness, you can also trade as well, right? But you can clearly see SPYs showing more kind of more neutralness than bearishness, right? While QQ is more bearish. So yeah, 9:35, calling it a day since we did nothing, right? We'll have a weekly outlook post this weekend. We have to be extremely selective when taking trades in this mess. And then at 10:02, right, NVIDIA calls to turn on watch, right? Why can I kind of come back into the market? First of all, my alert got hit on NVIDIA, right, above pre-market high. Second of all, right, this is still in play, right? A reversal in the indices is still in play with main watch likely being NVIDIA, right? This can happen later in the session, right? So that's what ended up happening, right? So now let's just quickly go over this and then we'll talk about on the charts, right? So keep out here on pre-market high. In NVIDIA, goodish reward here, simply a break and retest of pre-market high. Literally does not get more simpler than that, right? Literally the easiest setup ever is just simply just a break and retest of pre-market high. 1010 at stop loss, want to see buyers here. 25%, what a hold and bounce. Need to see some major momentum now with SPY. 35%, 50%, big pop, and then 70% at that. I think even higher actually. And then stop loss break even for trailers non SPY. I actually didn't have stop loss break even on my trailers. I just had one contract left, so I just let it run, to be honest. But yeah, so now let's go into the charts and see what was happening, right? So what's actually happening on QQ and SPY. So while the video is breaking pre-market high at this kind of 958 candle, right, you can kind of see SPY is clearly more stronger than QQQ, right? QQQ is clearly more bearish while SPY is holding up. So you have to understand which indice is kind of holding up and what's creating that chop in the markets, right? So at that kind of 958 candle, right, SPY is reclaiming VWAP above 5 main chart. So kind of looking more bullish above for SPY. And also QQ is also breaking above VWAP as well. So, it's looking like a very decent reversal scenario, especially on tech and indices as well, right? So that's why I'm looking at to take NVIDIA calls because I know this name on the higher time frame also looks good as well. So also what's happening on NVIDIA? So we come down to this low of day area. So this 206 area is low of day. And it's not just a low of day area, guys. So you'll understand that a lot of higher time frame levels will coincide with our previously high level or our previously low level, right? So, bro, these are some. I'm about to drop some sauce. But anyways, so look, but do I even talk about this? I'm gonna talk about it. So look at this. Our previously low level, which is 206 level, right? We can clearly see buyers stepped up here aggressively bouncing off this area on NVIDIA, right? And what is this level, right? This is our previously low level, but it's also our 206 whole psychological number, right? And this level has been very, very important on NVIDIA these past couple of weeks if you've been trading NVIDIA, right? If you go to the higher time frame chart and look at that 206 level, right? We can clearly see strong buying and selling at this area, right? Very, very strong wicks at that 206, very strong bearish wicks at the 206, right? Very strong buying wicks right here, right? Very strong bearish wicks right here. So this 206 is a very strong area, just on the higher time frame in general, showing strong buyers and sellers at that 206 inflection point, right? So us bouncing off that 206 just tells me that, you know what, buyers are defending this area. And so if NVIDIA can kind of break above pre-market high, it looks like good momentum off that kind of low of day, kind of liquidity sweep off that 206 higher time frame level, plus our previously low level, right? So it's these little things that kind of help you kind of form a thesis on a trade and kind of make it look better. That's why later in the day, right, or early in the day, I said, you know, a reversal looks good on the indices, NVIDIA can be main watch because of these things like that, right? So yeah, so as well, right, took NVIDIA call simply a break and retest at this candle, right? Stop loss is going to be below its pre-market high candle closure, right? So you can technically mark out the zone, right? So we want to see this kind of zone get held, right? Our two key levels, right? We can mark out a zone in between these levels, and then so you want to see strong buyers step up here, right? So we have multiple confluences supporting this trade for the upside. We want to see buyers defend this zone, right? We have this fair value gap, we have this 209 here, we have this previously closed here, right? Which is my own kind of edge I have in the markets, right? This is an edge I made myself, and also it's previous, I think it's pre-market high. So we have an entire zone, a lot of confluences we want to kind of hold for buyers step up here, and that's what happened, right? We had this pullback and strong buyers step up here at that 10-10 candle, showing that, you know what, we want to move NVIDIA higher. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, to be honest, right? 6-minute trade recap. And yeah, you know, took out majority of my trade here, over 80% of my trade at this high of day break. And this was a very, very nice move on NVIDIA, right? This had news. So this was a news move on NVIDIA. But again, the one thing I like telling people or people that I help are like mentors or like, not mentors, but people I one-on-one, right? Is that news is actually a good thing, right? Usually, if you're playing with the trend, you have the right thesis. News usually pushes your trade towards the direction you're looking at, right? So we're clearly bullish now. QQ SPY, especially is about VWAP. So news will usually push you towards that price or the liquidity you want to see it, right? Right? News is not something that you should be scared of. It actually will help you majority of the time towards your TP levels, right? It's very rare that news will actually come down unless it's a very bad news, right? Otherwise, like usually when I'm playing with the trend, right, when I have momentum, right, news actually helps me just push through those liquidity targets instantly. So you have to understand when news happens, it's actually majority of the time a good thing. Majority of the time, right? There are some cases where, you know, fucking Iran drops a nuke or some shit, and you know, market can drop, right? But majority of the time, right, these small little news pieces will pump the market towards the direction it already wants to go, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the trade recap. I mean, I think I pretty much talked about everything, right? Very simple trade, right? Simply playing break and retest off our zones, off our levels, and letting the risk reward play out, and that's pretty much it, right? The edge, guys, in all these kind of strategies is going to be you being patient. That's literally the majority of the edge. If you're impatient taking these trash setups and then you lose, and then later in the day that setup might appear, and then you're going to be tilted. Like that's just like majority of trading is literally being patient. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Let's look at some other names real quick, right? So guys, if we go back to that Friday, right, there's only a couple names that are obvious to trade if you look back, right? Apple, relative strength, right? Even in the first 5 minutes, you know this name has relative strength, right? We're breaking above our previous high level, our pre-market high level, strong price action, above our 5 range high break and retest. So there's so many bullish confluence on this trade. The only reason I didn't take this trade is just because of me. It's just because of me and just me just not wanting to take zero day expiration on Apple. Like, I don't know, there's something wrong with me, right? Tesla as well looked very, very good just off this bearish momentum. But again, like for me in my brain, it just didn't make sense for me to kind of see such a big downside move on Tesla after we kind of already had such a big downside move yesterday. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna, as a trader, you're gonna have your own theses and your own kind of own risk profiles. Like for me, like on zero expiration, right? Like I'm just talking too much. I'm gonna shut up, bro. I'm gonna shut up. I was trying to explain why I didn't take Tesla and Apple, but it's just simply because I just didn't really believe in that big of a move on the zero expiration contracts. On the zero expiration contracts, I want to see more momentum, but like I don't know, the momentum didn't end up happening. So now it's just like you really can't predict such big moves like these because even on 0 days, this would have been a very, very big trade regardless. Even though the momentum is clearly slower, this is a very insane move on Apple. I won't lie, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it, to be honest. If you guys have any questions, join the Discord down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest. I'll also have to record a weekly outlook, so I'll probably do this right after I record this video. But yeah, I mean, next week, or yeah, next week, absolutely insane earnings. And so next week there might be some banger trades. I won't lie. Right, we have a lot of earnings. Hopefully volatility stays up. And yeah, um, that's pretty much it. Peace.